right, we are testing, we are testing, we are testing. Let's see how we do. Right now we're unlisted, so it's okay. We're gonna see how this goes. And it's working. Okay, Happy New Year. I hope everybody is doing well. I'm wishing you a Happy New Year, and you know what? So is Bandit. Say hello, Bandit. This is my cat. Bandit also says Happy New Year to you. So we both wish you a Happy New Year. We both hope you're doing well. Please take a moment, hit that like, yes, darkness. Hello, Bandit, indeed. They're saying hi to you. Yes, they're saying hi to you. Mwah. How's it going? Please take a moment, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Bandit also wants you to talk about Freemasonry. Let me know if you have any New Year's resolutions. There's a couple things I want to talk about. There's some interesting things happening in the world of Freemasonry. It's January 1st, and there's already interesting things happening in the world of Freemasonry. So what does that tell you? It tells me 2026 should be a very interesting year. Hello, 0064. Bandit here wants you to hit the like and subscribe button. Yes, she does. Yes, she does. So please do so. Let's give it a few minutes. Let's see who joins. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let me know for now, though, if you have any thoughts on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral. I'd love to hear them. But 0064 is waving. Normally, Bandit doesn't jump up on my lap while I'm streaming, so this is a special treat for you guys. She wanted to say hello and wish you all a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Well, you can't have this cat, Lucian, because this is my cat. This is Bandit. Mario, are you kidding? Mario's obvious. Plus, Mario could more likely be a. Wow, you got a lot of. I got a brush, Bandit. Holy cow! God, man, y'all take. I'm not going to say all of that. Hello, Temaru. We got a lot of Masons who I have no doubt are at church today because they are Christian and they would agree with you. Freemasonry is not a religion itself. However, we have many Christian Freemasons. So, hello, Sky 3. Yes, Cinderella, indeed. I got my awesome Happy New Year tiara, which I found while I was at the casino, actually. How do you feel mentally? Any advice? We are not living after the moon calendar. I don't even know what the moon calendar is, but okay. Any advice to a 25-year-old, Jacob? Do you mean meant? Like, I'm not sure what you mean because I'm always very hesitant to give people advice because everybody's life is so different and so unique. I guess what I would say is, at least for me, try to find something you're passionate in and then focus on that. Well, then, no. Freemasonry is not a Jewish organization. Freemasonry is not related to any specific ethnicity or religion or group. Freemasonry is its own organization. So, civic organization or civic group. So we tend to follow, whatever the calendar is of the country which you're at. So primarily just, I guess, the Julian calendar, right? Or the whatever the current calendar is. I do know some Chinese Masons probably follow the Chinese calendar. I don't know when their New Year's actually is, but like Year of the Snake, Year of the Dragon, that type of thing. You do what you want, Connor. Mr. Keeps, thank you. Yes, I got this today. I was at the casino for my typical coffee, and this was on the floor. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to wear this in honor of New Year's Day. Because, you got to accessorize. You have to accessorize. There was some really interesting and really cool stuff I found on the Book of Faces, which I thought would be cool to check out. A lot of interesting things happening within Freemasonry in 2026. So let's see. A lot of cool stories that have been posted, for example, by the Masons of California, by the Grand Lodge of Michigan. By the way, the Grand Lodge of Michigan, which is literally right across the border from me, right across the river, is this year in 2026 celebrating its 200th anniversary. Freemasonry in Michigan arrived there in 1826, departed there in 2026. So 200 years of Freemasonry. I'm not sure what the actual exact date of their founding is, but I'm sure I'm going to be hearing about it because there's probably a ton of events planned, things like that. Actually, I think I'm going to be going to an event with the Grand Master of Michigan shortly. So I'll ask about that when I see him. Because I love Michigan Freemasonry. I love Michigan. I love Detroit. And yeah, 200 years is definitely worth a celebration. Welcome. I'm in Canada. Well, let's just start with rule number 3 and then work backwards. Yes, like and subscribe. Alex, I'm in Canada. I am a Freemason, Canada 515. I'm also Canadian. That's good advice. I appreciate that advice very much. Drinking water and resting is always good. Please, you guys, remember to hit the like button and the subscribe button. I'd appreciate that very much also. I love Kingston. I've been there a couple of times. Usually I pass through Kingston on my way to Ottawa. But I remember visiting Kingston a few times and thinking it was a really, really cool spot. So, hello, the Grinch. The Grinch, Christmas is over. You shouldn't still be Grinchy. You should be happy now or doing well. What is going on? Thank you for being here. Please take a moment, hit that like and subscribe button. Oh, I'm sure it's beautiful. No, Kingston, like I said, from what I remember, it's an awesome city. Primarily, I always see it kind of through the bus or through the train. Well, the bus especially. Passing through it on my way to Ottawa because I used to live in Ottawa and I would move back and forth between Ottawa and Windsor a fair bit. And Kingston was one of the stops. Thank you, Mopor. I appreciate that. Nice. Unfortunate that Freemasons, well, I mean, the Shriners were there. Would have nice to have Blue Lodge represented as well. But very cool. How was the parade? And by the way, how did you do last night? Did you go out? Did you party? Did you chase girls? Did you have a good time? Windsor is cool and Detroit is cool also. I love Detroit. I feel like it gets a really bad rap, unfortunately. Especially after kind of the auto bailout and all that stuff. I think it's actually a beautiful city, and very underappreciated. Well, I mean, in fairness, maybe the McDonald's in Peru is healthier than the McDonald's anywhere else. Maybe it doesn't count as junk food in South America. I've been Michigan, Florida, West Virginia, Virginia, Bama, Mississippi. Nice. You've been well traveled. I've been to Michigan and Florida as well out of that list, but none of the other ones, sadly. And I'd love to visit Freemasonry in West Virginia, Virginia, Bama, and Mississippi. I think that'd be really, really fun. So it's on my list for sure. I don't. I've been to Warren. I think can't actually recall if I've ever been to Warren, Michigan. I feel like I've at least passed through it. I think it's nice, nice little town. I don't know, but I'll say Detroit I love very much so, and I've been to that city a bunch. In some ways, Detroit is kind of like a way station for me. I'm usually there catching a bus or catching a train or catching a flight somewhere else, so it's kind of like a liminal space. But I do try to at least spend, a few days every year in Detroit, especially at the Detroit Masonic Temple, which is a beautiful Masonic temple, biggest Masonic temple in the world, and it's like 5 minutes from me. Well, Eminem is from 8 Mile, right? So he's from Detroit proper, I think. Shriner's float was called Building Dreams Together. That's a good name. Anytime you have anything that's Masonic related, you should call it building something, building dreams, building whatever it might be. Mike Sanchez, whether I came out of the closet or didn't, or whether I'm gay or not, is completely irrelevant to Freemasonry. Freemasonry does not discriminate based on sexual orientation. We have gay members and straight members. And which one am I? Everybody can decide that for themselves. What you should do is plan to hit that like and subscribe button. Gamer929 from Jordan. A lot of people don't realize this, but there is actually Freemasonry in Jordan in the Middle East. There are some, I've been told that culturally in Jordan, Freemasonry is somewhat kind of, I guess, frowned upon, might be the best word for it. Or it's kind of met with a little bit of suspicion. But there are actually Masonic lodges in Jordan that are operating, and I think it'd be really fun to visit at some point. I have no idea. Like, I'm sure traveling there is very expensive. Hello, Riggs. Good morning. Mopor. Don't think about it in terms of level. That's not the right way to think about it. The best way to think about it is in terms of rank, and not even rank, excuse me, degree and office. So I am a third degree Master Mason, which is the highest degree. I'm also an 18th degree Scottish Rite. And then I'm also have the office of Worshipful Master of Border Cities Lodge, number 554. Can I get a shout out, please, Cameron? Shout out to Darkness. Thank you for being here. So, you don't want to think about things in terms of like rank or level, or I've heard a lot of different terms. The best way to think about it is there are degrees and there are offices. I'm not trying to be any of that stuff. I'm happy to be who I am. I am, again, an 18th degree Scottish Rite Mason, but fourth degree isn't more important than a third degree, right? There's no degree that's higher than the third degree Master Mason. That's even true in the case of the York Rite, let's say, and the different chapters or groups within the York Rite. What if I'm the Worshipful Master? Do I have to obey myself, Worshipful Master of the Lodge? Max Ashton, you're a little bit ahead of the curve. It's 2026. Unless you're living in the future, in which case, good for you. I hope that you're doing well. DK, it seems to me that you've been paying too much attention to conspiracy theory stuff online. There is no quote unquote master in the sense of, slave master or anything like that. There are Master Masons, which are Masons who are well skilled, and then there's Worshipful Masters of a Masonic Lodge. But even within that, Freemasonry is a democracy. So you vote on, for example, resolutions of the lodge. The Worshipful Master doesn't get to tell anybody how to vote. Hello, Rosalie. Thank you for being here. What would you do if I was president? Oh my gosh, that's a question and a half. Well, Easy Mac, you literally should hit the like and subscribe button. I mean, if I was president or prime minister, for the record, I'm Canadian, I would. There's a lot of things I can. Who knows? Here's what I think I would do. I would try my best to encourage a stronger civic society and civic institutions. I would try my best to make sure that people were more willing to be part of their community by providing tax incentives for community groups, volunteerism, and informal get-togethers. Because For society to function well, you need both a strong civil and a strong civic safety net and relationships. And both are incredibly vital because what happens is if your civic institutions and civic society starts to fray, then a greater and greater amount of resources and strain is put on civil society. So basically, the less you can rely on your neighbors, the greater you need to rely on the government. And the problem with that is, no matter how hard you try, the government will never be able to do everything or will never be able to fulfill the same role as your neighbor. Now, by the same token, um, you have a milestone, Mr. Keeps. Yes, you do, and thank you so much for that. On the other side, though, I want to be careful with that and say it's true the other way as well. Your neighbors will never be able to do everything that the government does. They have different roles or civil society and different responsibilities, but you need both. I think one of the issues that we're facing is we're kind of in this doom loop spiral right now, which is as civic, and this has been happening since the 90s, as civic society retreats, as communities and neighbors become less and less intertwined with each other, the government is expected to take on more and more of those responsibilities. The government can't, so it starts to fray, which then results in a greater amount of pressure being put back onto civic institutions, which can't handle it, and you have this ping pong effect. You need both a strengthening of civic and civil institutions, but I think it needs to start with civic institutions. We need our Masons, our Elks, our Moose, our Shriners, our neighbors, our churches, our synagogues, our mosques. We need all of those to be stronger and healthier. We need neighbors to support each other, and if you can do all of that, you will get to a point where civic society can strengthen, or sorry, civil society can strengthen as well, and then the government can actually step in and do the things it needs to do. And it all works together. There's a long-winded way of saying I would try to put a greater emphasis on the importance of civic institutions, otherwise known as the formal and informal ways that community members interact with one another. I do not know the keepers of time 3338, but I hope you'll hit the like and subscribe button. Is there a body that rules? There is no single body that rules the rights of Freemasonry or lodges. That's not how things work. Freemasonry is decentralized. There is a series of different grand lodges, all of whom are responsible for their own rights and their own regulations. And then in Scottish Rite, there's a series of bodies as well. Like Canada has one, northern and southern jurisdictions have one, kind of like that. All right, Slobodan. Well, thank you for being here. I'm just going to call you Pies. We do need a stronger sense of community and brotherhood and neighborness. I agree with that 100%. Even something as informal as having a block party, having a barbecue in your neighborhood. Stuff matters. Ben Franklin from Mr. Works, I think that was Ben Franklin who said that, be at war with your vices, at peace with your neighbors, and let every new year find you a better man. Jam, I agree. I love the Shriners. They're an excellent part of our Masonic family, an excellent part of our Masonic orders. So nothing but respect for them and nothing but respect for what the Shrine does, both for Freemasonry and for our communities. Well, he had a very good quote. So, well, then congratulations, Darkness. You are one of the exceptions. I mean, February would have the least number of birthdays because it has the least number of days of the month, of the year, right? There's 28 days in February, which means that's 3 less days at least, or 2 less days for anybody to have a birthday. So my suspicion is that's a big part of it. Also, right, most people are, let's say, getting together with family, with wives, or with their girlfriends, maybe doing a little bit of celebrating. The alcohol's flowing a little bit more freely in December and January. So it doesn't surprise me that maybe you might get more birthdays in like August, September, October. Just a guess. I mean, I wouldn't say 4570 that the government is capturing anybody with food stamps or anything like that. We don't have those. We don't have food stamps in Canada. We have social assistance programs. I mean, I think those are sometimes very necessary. It's not about being captured. But again, I think, for example, if somebody is struggling with food insecurity, there may come a point where they need government assistance. But before they get to that point, do they have neighbors, family, friends, community groups, churches that can kind of fill the gap and either lend them or give them some money or give them some food to help them make it through that rough patch and that rough period? Um, you can ask a question, 10 Reg 79. Um, well, Jack, good enough. You should still hit the like and subscribe button. Uh, to my knowledge, none. I mean, the Illuminati really doesn't exist. I've said this before. They really don't exist as an organized unit or as anything relevant to anybody's life in 2025. No, well, just be normal is pretty good advice, to be honest. Just be normal is pretty good advice, but I would say Freemasonry and civic institutions in general are one of the most normal things. It's one of those situations where, um, for very, very often when it came to civic institutions and civil society, that was the norm, especially in the 1920s. Moose, elks, I don't even know all the different ones. The moose, the elks, the rotary, that was normal. The PTA, it's only really been since the 70s, 80s, and 90s that you started to see a decline in civic institutions. Um, well, the Freemasons practice Freemasonry metaphorically speaking, right? It's always been that way. Freemasonry is a metaphorical exercise. Stonemasons still practice stonemasonry, and they practice it very well. To their credit, they do a great job. So, um, yeah, what I would say is when it comes to Freemasonry, it's about metaphorically building things. Um, Mr. Ruff's, I only have a very superficial understanding of what Freemasonry is, but I definitely agree with the importance of civic duty and responsibility. Yeah, well, I agree, Mr. Ruffs. If you have any questions about Freemasonry, and you want to expand beyond a superficial understanding, let me know. I'll do my best to try to answer it for you. Um, well, Jack, you can leave first. You don't have to tell other people to leave. You can just leave if you so desire. I hope you hit the like and subscribe button first. Um, so that's not how it works. 4570. That's not how it works. Freemasons are taught to, not only just be compliant, but to, obey the laws of the country in which they live, to make sure that they follow the laws of the country in which they live. And if they see a Mason who's committing crimes, to actually inform the authorities. I think you're talking about the Metropolitan Police and their recent decision, which I'm actually not as opposed to as others may think. I can understand the concerns surrounding conflicts of interest. My concern is why they focused exclusively on Freemasonry. To me, the obvious solution to do is to say anybody who is part of any group or organization that nationally has, let's say, over 20,000 members or 30,000, you can pick a number, has to pre-disclose. So whether you're a member of the Elks, the Moose, the Rotaries, the Freemasons, the Boy Scouts, the Cub Scouts, you should have to disclose it so long as the membership within is over a set number. I think 20 to 30,000 is fair. Um, my society, Freemasonry, builds a better world for everybody. Um, I've heard he was, I forget, NBR Love. I think he was maybe not one of our better, members. Um, oh, he was a irregular Mason. That's right. He was made a Mason in France, but it wasn't under a recognized jurisdiction. Now, I'm not one who gets all hopped up or excited about recognition all the time or regular, irregular. I think the point is he was not part of a Masonic lodge that would be considered recognized by many other Masonic lodges. So that's definitely not the case for 570, at least in my experience, Ian. I've been a Mason for 20 years, almost 20 years, 19 years. I've met five Masons who are police officers, three of whom were already retired when I met them, and the other two actually have retired since I first met them. I don't know what the numbers are in England, but it can't be a majority because the number of Freemasons has been dropping in England. Again, but that's not me. I'm not saying I'm opposed to the decision of the Metropolitan Police. What I'm opposed to is focusing exclusively on Freemasonry. Again, I think you pick a number. Again, it's always going to be arbitrary, but let's say 20,000 members nationally. And you say if you are part of any group that has at least 20,000 members nationally, you have to disclose that to your supervisor. Again, because Freemasonry is not the exclusive hierarchical society within United Kingdom, right? Otherwise, defined as a society where members pledge to support one another in legal actions, not in all actions, in one's legal actions. But the point is, you have those same pledges of support in, to my understanding, the Cub Scouts. You have those same pledges of support in so many different groups and organizations that it's very silly to focus on one particular group. And I think they focused on Freemasonry and that particular group because they were tricked by conspiratorial thinking or foolish social media posts. You don't pay for knowledge, you don't pay for anything, you pay to give something. What you pay is to support the lodge and the membership and the community and the building. Um, you pay for the right to be a Freemason in the same way you pay for the right to be part of any club or group or organization. Um, well, I think we all need rules. Kiki 2692. I think we all need rules of some sort. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Where those rules come from, whether they come from the internal or the external, is a little bit more complicated for people to decide, right? Some people will say that the rules come from a supernatural source or religious source. Some will say it comes from evolutionary biology. Some will say it comes from a combination of both. Some will say it's an internal thing. I think within Freemasonry, we don't talk about where the rules come from because that is, you can think about that as maybe a religious question, but we do at least try to talk about what the rules themselves are and how we understand them. So, or how to best live with them, right? Like, I'll use this example. No, old Minty, Freemasons do not make money from being a Freemason. Anybody who tells you that being a Freemason makes money, will make you rich, will make you famous, is at best wrong, more than likely lying to you. I am trying to use this channel to turn my passion for Freemasonry into a profession. But going back to what I was saying, like if you are a football player, like you play team sports like football, you are going to learn very quickly that there is a value to teamwork. That one of the rules of this world is that if you're willing to work in a team, you can accomplish more than individually, so long as everybody's working on the team together. Now, why that is a rule, whether that's a rule created by God, however you understand it, or evolutionary biology, that's for each individual to decide. Football is not there to tell you where that rule comes from. You may choose to believe it comes from God, and that's perfectly reasonable. Rather, football just illuminates the rule itself and the value of teamwork. Freemasonry is the same way. It illuminates certain moral lessons and values, such as tolerance, respect, dedication, hard work, charity, benevolence. It illuminates the value of those rules, but it doesn't tell you where they come from. You have to decide that. And you can decide that it's your religious beliefs or however else you want to make that decision. Why something is moral is a question for, your religious or other understanding. What is or isn't moral? I think that can come from Freemasonry. It can come from a lot of different groups and organizations. How do you conceive Hold on just one second. Obviously, I don't make money. This is a one-bedroom apartment, but help me get into a two-bedroom apartment. Do a super chat, 99-cent super chat. Share the stream, like the stream. Um, well, no, I mean, you question. I mean, we within Freemasonry are questioning things all the time. Freemasonry is a democracy, so we always vote on resolutions, rights, whatever it is. But again, so it's like in football, you can question the coach and the coach's decision. What I'm saying is within football, again, it illuminates the value and it illuminates certain moral lessons. The moral lesson of teamwork, the moral lesson of practice, the moral lesson of dedication, the moral lesson of caring for yourself so you can be of service to others. The reason why football players need to be so healthy is not simply for their career, but they need to be healthy so they can work well on the team and support their teammates. Um, those are all moral lessons that derive from the game of football. Freemasonry, you can derive moral lessons as well. Again, tolerance, respect, I think teamwork, practice, charity, benevolence, temperance. Those are all moral lessons you can derive from Freemasonry if you so choose. Where you believe those moral lessons originated, that's a question between you and your priest. Um, Well, I mean, you can question them. I just think the answer would be self-obvious. So again, to use a football example, you can question whether teamwork is or isn't moral, but if you're playing football and you decide teamwork is immoral, you're probably not going to be a good football player. You should probably find something else to do, like get into track and field, and you'll find different moral lessons. I think it's not, it's just the moral lessons naturally derive from the act itself, and it's pretty hard to argue. At least in, if nothing else, within the game of football, teamwork is fairly obviously moral. And it's fairly obvious and self-evident that within Freemasonry, tolerance is a moral virtue because you have to be tolerant of your brother Mason who might be Christian, might be Jewish, might be Muslim, might be Democrat, might be Republican, might be white, might be black, might be Asian. You need to be tolerant of different people and different ideas. Not tolerant of everything. You can't be tolerant of, let's say, their criminal acts, but that's a different can of tuna. I can't speak about what it is to be a Mason, Billy Weaver, because I'm here talking about being a Freemason. Yes, I am a Freemason. Maybe, Dad, I was going to talk about that. Mississippi, I believe. I was going to mention that and read out their resolution. Um, Football, soccer, pick your term. Adam Cook, um, I will, I would be allowed to say I'm a student of the Jewish Kabbalistic methods, except I'm not a student of the Jewish Kabbalistic methods, because Freemasonry is not Jewish, nor is it Kabbalistic. There are elements of Judaism that, are part of Freemasonry, but there's also elements of Christianity, Islam, architectural theory, Stoic philosophy, Egyptian mysticism. Freemasonry is a hodgepodge of philosophy, symbols, and ideas. Um, Somebody above asked, David, YouTube, please hit like and subscribe, by the way. Um, Martial arts, I mean, Bon, Sam, I have trained or practiced in a bit of martial arts. I agree with you 100%. I think that 100%, very often you can develop moral lessons from the practice of martial arts. Discipline, peace, self-defense, control over oneself and one's emotions. Those are all, in my experience, moral lessons that derive from arts. Well, you can learn lessons from any number of different sources within or without a club, Kiki. Like, I'm not saying Freemasonry is the exclusive way to derive moral lessons or to illuminate moral lessons. I'm saying it's one of many. It just so happens to be the one I prefer. And that's because something about Freemasonry speaks to me. It's kind of like saying, my favorite song is Simple Man. Well, I can listen to music that's not Simple Man, but I like the song. You may like a different song. You should listen to that song. You may like a different club. You should join that club. You may not want to join any club and derive moral lessons from, I don't know, from your favorite book or literature. That's what you should do. Um, Somebody above asked, Billy Bob, you are wrong. Please hit like and subscribe. Adam Cooked, how do I conceive? Basically asking, how do I conceive my supreme being, the version of the supreme being? I conceive it as the rational nature of the universe as expressed through scientific, geometric, and mathematical principles. Um, it is a tried and tested one. It's been tried and tested for over 300 years. Mikey UCC, Happy New Year to you as well. Thank you for being here. I have my hat. I don't know if you saw this. Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome to Kung Fu Panda. One more second. I hope you're doing well. Thank you for being here. Um, I hope that you're doing well. Please take a moment to hit that like and subscribe button. I have never seen Kung Fu Panda, but I want to. Ian7455, I don't know what you're saying, but thank you for that as well. Please hit that like and subscribe button. I am, I think 6 subs away from 3,200 subscribers. I'm hoping if I can keep up with my growth to be able to make it to 3,200 subscribers today. At least that's my goal. So we shall see, 3,200 subscribers this week and 10,000 subscribers this year. So that'll be challenging to get to. All right, let's give it a bit more time. Let's see who else joins. Please, as always, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let me know if you have any thoughts on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral. I'd love to hear them. I hope that maybe you guys watched my podcast or my live stream on New Year's Masonic resolutions and consider how you can make these resolutions to grow within Freemasonry in 2026. And if you're not a Freemason, but you're part of a different organization, maybe you can check that out and learn, apply those to other areas in your life, which is absolutely possible. I think whatever, the skill and ability that it takes to grow within Freemasonry can be used to grow within any different organization. Josh, that's pretty funny. I'm a fart mason. I've heard that before. You're not the only one to say that. I have, although I try, honestly, I'm not sure if I would want that because I don't want this to be confused with the official stance of any Grand Lodge, right? I want people to understand that these are my opinions, my thoughts, no one else's. If I start to get shout outs from Grand Lodge in an official capacity through official communications, the danger of that is people will start to think maybe whatever I'm saying is representative of Grand Lodge, because there may be times when I personally have a disagreement with the Grand Lodge, right? What I would say is I do hope that if you are, let's say, the Grand Master of a jurisdiction, or you're an officer within a jurisdiction, at least on your personal YouTube accounts, you give me a shout out. While 67 degree is almost certainly you're not, because that almost certainly does not exist, I will say Memphis Mizraim does exist in Europe, and I think that goes up to 99 degrees if I recall correctly. So anything's possible, but I highly doubt that. Why do people think Freemason is satanic or demonic? A lot of different reasons, but primarily it's people struggling in their lives and developing, an interest in conspiracy. And not even necessarily struggling, but just there's some part of them that likes to believe that they are conspiratorial they like conspiracies. And so as a consequence of that, what they do is they latch onto conspiracy theories. Does your lodge secretary mention you? They have in the past. I was the lodge secretary for a while, to be honest, but I try not to mention myself in summonses for obvious reasons, but they have in the past, which is very kind of them. Um, I don't know what Pax Judaica is. I mean, Pax means peace. Do you mean peace judgment? Judgment of peace? Explain order from chaos. I mean, that's a pretty common expression in a lot of different groups and organizations. It can pop up in Freemasonry as well. I mean, I can only tell you what I think personally, which is the universe can appear, especially in more primitive times. I'm talking about millions of years ago, or at least hundreds of thousands of years ago when humans were living in caves. It can be easy to think of the universe as being chaotic in nature, right? You look at the universe, and some days there's even the earth, some days there's storms, some days it's sunny. You can't always predict what's going to happen. It can seem chaotic. But because we have these brains and the ability to observe and be rational, we can derive actually order and rules from what seems to be chaotic. So, for example, geometry, the ability to understand math, the ability to calculate the trajectory of the stars in the sky and the planets, and predict things. That is all an example of creating order from what seems to be chaotic. Um, there is no demonic ritual in Freemasonry, so actually, it is honest to separate Freemasonry from conspiracies surrounding rituals of any sort, demonic or otherwise. Um, well, I think, Chris, rituals matter because I'll be back in just 1 second, because they bond us to one another, in my opinion. Right? And so I forgot to feed my cat, I just realized. So here you go. We get to see a life of Cameron. There we go. I actually have to get my cat more cat food. I'm almost out. That was the last bit of it. So luckily I'm going shopping today. Sorry, Bandit. Okay. So I think rituals are important because I think rituals matter, Chris, because what they do is at least within Freemasonry, they bond us to our brothers. If I take part in the same ritual as somebody else, what that does is I now feel bonded to them and connected to them. It's kind of like my grandfather, right? I've talked about this before. I never met my grandfather. He passed away before I was born. And so as a consequence of that, I never got to meet him. However, he went through the same rituals I did. And so in that way, I feel like I'm connected to him. So I really appreciate that about my, knowing Freemasonry. It's made me feel closer to my family, especially my grandfather. So I think rituals matter in that sense. I also think rituals matter in that they help us better understand ourselves and in some ways better understand that profound subconscious. I would describe the profound subconscious, Chris, as the bicameral mind theory, which is something I really like from Julian Jaynes. I'm actually trying to get them on the podcast. I keep failing. But I wrote about that. Rituals were a way for us to communicate with our profound subconscious, which at the time we would have viewed as the voice of the gods. Create the chaos. We're not trying to create chaos. I think within Freemasonry, one of the things that we try to do is create a more ordered society via civic institutions. Again, it's not exclusive to Freemasonry. It's Freemasonry. It's moose, elks, it's neighbors getting together for a barbecue. All of these things develop and create order through civic engagement. Um, Animals are also conscious. I think actually animals do have some type of rituals sometimes. I know my cat has certain rituals that, and again, you could argue, is it a ritual? Is it learned behavior? What's the difference? Like when she gets hungry, she has certain rituals that she'll do to try to get me to get her food. It's one of those things where probably she just did it one day and I fed her, and then in her mind, she decided, oh, I guess that's how I get food. And now whenever she's hungry, that's the ritual that she does, which is she climbs up on my lap, um, and paws at, like, there's this wire on my computer, and if she gets hungry, she'll climb on my lap and paw at the wire. So I have to go and feed her, which is probably a bad habit for her to have. The point is that a ritual? I don't know. I think animals, though, do have some type of rituals that they develop, some type of conscious understanding and experience of the world. How you define it, I don't know, but well, Templar Lodge, yeah, they we do have our fun. We do have our dress up moments. Sometimes Masonic rituals are actually closer to plays or theater productions than rituals as, you may understand them. So I've seen some similar pictures. I'm not a part of the Templars myself, but I've even, seen some of the costumes, and I have taken part in some York Rite events. So yeah. The bond can be natural. Well, I don't think you're forcing the bond, but I think that you're trying to find it. And there's a million ways to find it. Some people may bond with their family through music. Some people may bond with their family through cooking, like a family recipe. It's not about forcing the bond. It's just about recognizing that the bond is important and trying your best to engage with it, right? You seem to, I think, Kiki, one of the things I've been noticing, and I've been trying to figure out how to respond to this on stream, there's this weird quality with people in Freemasonry where I'll say, like, Freemasonry helps teach me about the value, or helps illuminate the value of tolerance. And somebody will say, well, you could get that lesson um, from another source. Why do you need to get that lesson from Freemasonry? Or Freemasonry helps me bond with my family. Well, you could bond with them in another way. Why bond with them through Freemasonry? And it's like it misunderstands. Like, I'm never suggesting that Freemasonry is the exclusive way to do any of these things, right? I'm not suggesting Freemasonry is the exclusive way to bond with your family. I'm not suggesting Freemasonry is the exclusive way to learn the value of tolerance. I'm not suggesting Freemasonry is the exclusive way to build a better world. What it is it's my way to bond with my family. It's my way to um, highlight the value of tolerance. It's my way to build a better community. Kiki, you may have a completely different way to do those things, and there's nothing wrong with that. Um, just like you may have a completely different type of music you enjoy. For whatever reason, there's something about Freemasonry that speaks to me. So when I say, like, I choose Freemasonry as my way to bond with my family, and you say, why not bond with them in a different way? It's like, well, I don't know, because this is a thing I love. It would be like somebody coming to me and saying, you can bond with, I bond with my grandfather through a love of cooking. We both cook together. And if my response was, well, why not bond with them in a different way? Why force it? It's like, because he likes cooking and his grandfather liked cooking. I don't know. I liked Freemasonry and my grandfather was a Freemason. And so that's how I choose to bond with him. There's this weird implication that I've noticed in the stream sometimes where it's like, it's kind of like if I said if I did this live stream about tigers and I was like, I love tigers, they're wonderful. And Kiki or somebody in the stream was like, oh, you love tigers? Why don't you love lions? It's like, I don't know. Lions are great, but I like tigers more. It's like, I like Freemasonry. What can I say? Again, I'm not saying anybody else has to like it. I'm not saying anybody else has to enjoy it. I'm not saying anybody else has to have the same relationship to it as I do, but it's something I love. And because it's something I love, it's something I choose to talk about and enjoy talking about. It's not forcing it. It's just, having a bond with your family through Freemasonry is no different than having a bond with your family through a shared love of cooking. It's not forcing the bond. It's just what you love and then how you interact with it. Um, I would agree referring to dancing, but when we use symbols, it's pretty obvious. I would disagree strongly with that, Chris Wolf. Intentions are almost never obvious, even to Freemasons. What I mean by that is when I see a symbol, how I interpret it and how I interpret the intent behind it could be very different from how others interpret the intent behind it. And that's the beautiful thing about Freemasonry. It's common purpose, sorry, it's common experience, common symbols with unique interpretations and unique intent to each individual's. Hello from Pakistan. Thank you for being here, Teddy Bear. Please hit like and subscribe. Um, Let the peasants fight and stay distracted so they don't rise up. I mean, first of all, I hope nobody rises up against anybody else because I don't want there to be a revolution. Those usually result in a lot of heads on pikes. And I don't want my head to end up on one, especially because I'm a Freemason. What I'll say is Freemasonry is not any type of threat to anyone. It is rather trying to build a better world through the application of brotherly love, relief, and truth. At least to me, that's what it's doing. Happy New Year, Jennifer Madonna. Please hit like and subscribe. Bind you through what though? What is the force binding you? Well, the force that's binding me is my love of Freemasonry. That's an internal force. That's not an external force. There's like, what is the force that binds me to my favorite song, which is Simple Man by Leonard Skinner? It's not the song, because a million people can hear the song and have a million different reactions to it. For whatever reason, something about my personality combined with the way I grew up, combined with what was happening in my life when I heard the song for the first time, combined with, who knows, a million other factors, all ended up binding me to that song and causing me to love it. When I joined Freemasonry, there's something about me that responded to it, and I found myself bound to it. A lot of people join Freemasonry, find out they don't enjoy it, it's not for them, they find it boring, uninteresting, and they choose not to remain within Freemasonry, which is perfectly fine, by the way. Um, that's perfectly okay. It's just about me and my personality. Thoughts on Minnesota? I love Minnesota. I got some good friends of mine who are actually my family. Excuse me, my cousin is from Minnesota, or lives in Minnesota. He's from Canada, but he moved to Minnesota. So, Minneapolis, I think. So, yeah, it's great state. Absolutely, Kiki. My cat has learned to influence me. Cats and dogs and pets, they're smarter than people give them credit for. They learn how to influence people. Or Brad Pitbull, my dog flips over the empty bowl. That's another way to do it. What are y'all talking about? Talking about Freemasonry. I've been a Freemason since 2007. So almost 20 years, which is crazy. Hello, Craig. Welcome, brother. Please hit like and subscribe. I have no idea what the esoterics of Blavatsky are. The motivations of Hitler, I think he was a monster, and I think his motivations were to make the world a worse place. Um, well, his motivations were to create a better world for himself personally, while making the world worse for everybody else, especially and obviously Jewish people, but not exclusively. Also, Freemasons, Gypsies, LGBTQ. So it's the typical dictator thing, right? He wants to, have a great world for himself personally while harming and hurting everybody around him because he's a psychopath. So, that's what his motivations were. No, DJ Master, Freemasons are neither satanic nor a cult. Um, Uh, uh, Hell, if you're happy with it, kudos, but I'm an individualist and find my own freedom. If you, I mean, then more power to you. If you find that you prefer, um, if you find that you prefer to find connections or purpose through more individual pursuits, then more power to you. Then, I'd say you probably would not enjoy Freemasonry, but you would probably enjoy, I don't know, kind of solitary reading or meditation, maybe, things of that nature. You find what works for you, and I wish you the best of luck and success with it. Well, I mean, Hannibal, I'm not going to completely disagree with you. You say the way you esteem Freemasonry in your life sounds like coveting and idolizing. Look, it's definitely possible, and I've had it myself, to have an unhealthy relationship with Freemasonry, where so much of your time and your energy is focused on Freemasonry that you focus on it at the expense of who knows what, your health, your well-being, because you're not sleeping, because you're thinking about Masonic events, or you're, worrying about how you're going to be able to put on the degree. It's possible, and I would probably have experienced that in my life. But I would also say, for a lot of people who manage to achieve great things in their life, there's usually an element of coveting and an element of idolizing. I mean, I'm a big fan of Steve Jobs. Look at what he had to go through to create the Macintosh, right? And to make it that far. It was incredibly challenging for him, and for his team, but it was something important. So it's a balance, though, and you got to be careful. You absolutely have to be careful. Sorry, DJ Master Groove. Seriously, Freemasons are neither satanic nor occult. I am not famous, but I'm working on it, Dibs. If you want to help me out, hit the like button, subscribe button, and consider doing a super chat. Um, Rob McGravy, I've not built any walls because I'm a Freemason, not a stonemason. I can't build anything to save my life. And no one should ask me to. So if you are thinking to yourself, hey, I bet you that guy's a great Freemason, stonemason, I'm going to hire him to build a wall, you are going to be sorely disappointed when the wall crumbles, when the walls break down. It won't be because of, getting attacked like Jericho. It'll just be because I can't build anything to save my life. Rob Gravy Train, please hit like and subscribe. Rem7502, please hit like and subscribe. You're probably smarter than anybody else, Rem, not doing it for free. Wild and Fresh. So I don't know anything about Yale University's Skull and Bones other than I heard that George W. Bush was a Skull and Bones member. I don't know anything about it. I would say, just me personally, I can see the value in having to contemplate one's own mortality as both a way to encourage action and maybe to remind us not to take our time in life, A, too seriously or ourselves too seriously. None of us are getting out of here alive. And knowledge of our own mortality can be a very motivating factor as well. So keep that in mind also. Thank you, God Slayer. Black pilled, whether I'm gay or straight doesn't matter. What matters is I'm a Freemason. Um, Please take a moment, hit that like and subscribe button. I am 4 subs away from 3,200 subscribers. I had a great 2025. My stream really, really grew, which is wonderful to see. Let's hope that it keeps going. Six pack. Well, I don't think I'm better than everyone. I think I'm better looking than everyone. But being better looking does not make me better. Please hit the like and subscribe button, Six Pack. In fact, subscribe 6 times on 6 different channels since your name is Six Pack. Um, well, a cop, yeah, as they should, Ryan. Whether I'm a Freemason or not, absolutely, if I'm committing a crime, a cop should arrest me, and I hope that he would. Freemasons are not to countenance any criminal actions by its membership, nor should we. Um, I would agree with that, James. I would agree with that. Oh, we got Handy Randy back saying cult over and over again. I'm going to have to put you in a bit of a timeout, good sir. But it's still wonderful to have you here. Um, I just gotta be able to find him now. Wait, if I could find it. All right, hold on just one sec. All right, sorry, Handy Randy. Sorry, that's not the case. It shouldn't be. There are Freemasons who, I mean, I'm not going to pretend like Freemasons are perfect. We're human beings, which means we commit, criminal acts. Sometimes we shouldn't, we don't, but no different than football players, plumbers, moose, elk. You're going to find we're people. We're imperfect. We make mistakes. Not every Freemason follows the philosophies of Freemasonry. But in those cases, again, as I noted, I've talked about before, we within Freemasonry are taught that if we know of any, aside from we ourselves should follow the rules of the country which we live or visit. If we discover or learn of a brother committing a crime, we are to inform the police, inform the authorities, lest it bring the whole of the craft into disrepute. Um, there's a lot of gross people on stream. Well, Andrew, that is gross. You're still hit like and subscribe. Freemasons are not selfish in my experience. Again, Freemasons are human beings. So we have within us the capacity for both selfishness and virtue and generosity and kindness and pettiness and jealousy. But I think that Freemasonry, it illuminates lessons that demonstrate the value of generosity and kindness and charity and benevolence if you're following and paying attention to the lessons. You could be a Freemason and not, and so be it. Um, it may or may not mean something to me, Daryl Brown, but I'm not going to say what it does or what it doesn't. I'm going to suggest if people are interested, they consider joining Freemasonry. Um, well, it could have been just that he had friends outside of Freemasonry. I mean, there's always going to be within human nature. I mean, I remember when I was, so this is ages ago, I was working in Ottawa at the time. And I was working at this store, and there was a coworker who also worked at the store. He was from a like small town, Ontario. This would have been I worked there from 2005. But I remember him telling me this story of it was small town Ontario, so everybody knew everybody else, including the police knew you. And he was saying that him and his buddies used to go to the bar and get drunk and they would drive home. But what the police would do, because they knew all the guys, they wouldn't pull them over or arrest them. They would just follow behind them in their squad car to make sure they got home safe. And it's like, is that right or wrong? It's probably wrong. But they knew each other and the police chose to let it go kind of thing. I mean, none of them were Freemasons, to my knowledge. None of them had any Masonic connections. Sometimes people will get a break because they have a friend who's a police officer or a friend who's on the force, or somebody will look the other way. I mean, how many people have, been pulled over for speeding and the police officer lets them off with a warning, not because either one of them were Masons, but just because the police officer wants to be friendly or, knows him or whatever it might be. The point of this whole thing is, the conflict of interest is always going to be real and always going to be a danger. And that's why I'm not opposed to the Metropolitan Police decision. But I think a lot of times people assume everything is Masonic when sometimes it's not. Sometimes, like with your father, when you said, you think he should have gone to jail and he seemed to always get off the hook, he could have just had friends who weren't Masons. It could be any number of things. If you don't know, then you don't know. But sometimes people choose to give people second chances. It should never be based on whether or not you're part of the same group or organization, though. I will say that. Um, I am a human. Um, well, there you go. Well, the secrets aren't secrets. They are ways that we in Freemasonry remain bonded to one another, no different than a family recipe that's kept private within a family. So if somebody were to say to me, like, you have a family recipe, can you confirm the ingredients? I would say no, not because there's anything, nefarious or conflicting about the ingredients. It's because I want to remain um, bonded to my family, past and future generations. And if everybody knows the family recipe, then that's one less connection that the family has. Freemasonry is the same way. I want to maintain the bonds of brotherhood. 451, I have a real life. It's here. Please hit like and subscribe. Um, well, I mean, if he wants to get out, he can get out. I've known Kiki, I've known many Freemasons who chose to leave Freemasonry. In some cases, they actively leave. By what I mean by that is they contact the Masonic Lodge and say, "I'm requesting a demit," and they no longer, are part of Freemasonry. And I've known others who just stop paying their dues, and they kind of move, whatever it happens, and you just lose touch with them. So both are possible. It just depends on the circumstances. Masonry has changed big time from what it was in the throughout different generations, primarily in terms of the membership and the relevance in the communities. A lot of the rituals really haven't changed much, which is a beautiful thing. Things change. There's this myth within Freemasonry that a lot of Freemasons have that Freemasonry never changes. That's not true. It's changed, but there is a pretty common and set core that hasn't changed in really over 300 years. Like, I can read ceremonies and rituals from the 17 and 1800s and recognize what's happening and what's going on. What has changed is the relevance within communities because the numbers of Freemasons are dropping significantly. Um, I don't know what that means, Freedom 777. I mean, there's a rule that, for example, I'm not going to share secrets with those who are not Masons or private information. I don't know what you mean by don't address situations or circumstances. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Um, well, some people do. I want to be part of Freemasonry. It's not evil, so I wouldn't use that term, but I want to be part of Freemasonry, so I'm someone. You know, Mikey mentioned previously, some people do, maybe not as many as before, but that's okay. Things change. Things change over time, and there may come a point where too few people want to be part of not just Freemasonry, but civic institutions in general, and they may all go away, which would be very sad. Excuse me. But you cannot control that, right? I cannot control what people want to do or whether people want to join Freemasonry or not. I can exclusively control what I want to do. And what I want to do is talk about Freemasonry and why I love it, and maybe do my best to see it grow once again. If I'm not successful, that's okay. At least I can look myself in the mirror and tell myself I did my best. Don't hypnotize the LLM. You can't. The LLM is not hypnotizable. Large language models are artificial intelligence. That's not how it works. Um, um, my slow internet capture. Hope everything good, bro. Everything is good, DMED. I hope that you're doing well also. Well, that's true, Josh. People, like, I have no doubt that, for example, um, many, Nazis were telling themselves they were doing good while being monstrous. That's 100% true. All I can say is, and at a certain point, I have to take a leap of faith. I use my judgment, my observations, my knowledge of myself and what I've witnessed, and I make a judgment as to whether what I'm doing is good or not. And based on my judgments, what I'm doing is good. Now, do I know for sure? There's a leap of faith I have to take. I can rely upon, to a certain extent, the fruits of my behavior, which I think have been helpful to many people. I can try to rely on different things, but at the end of the day, the idea of are you doing good, are you doing not good, there is a leap of faith in that. Now, you shouldn't take the leap of faith blindly. You should rely on your judgment and your knowledge and your intelligence. You may disagree with me, but I think based on, everything I've seen and observed, I don't always succeed, but I'm absolutely doing my best to be good and do my best. So we shall see. Um, I am related to, we all are related to pigs because evolution goes back far enough. We're all related to pigs. Linking Atlas, Saint Sylvanus, you have pretty eyes. Well, thank you. At least, um, very good point, Mikey. Very good point. Um, Elbow, we need to talk about the real problems in the world. I mean, I would say, and I've said this before, the real problems in the world, in my opinion, ultimately is, I mean, there's many problems. I shouldn't kind of speak about it simplistically, but I am going to speak about it simplistically and say, in my opinion, many of the problems in the world can be boiled down to a lack of civic society, a lack of civic institutions, and a lack of neighborliness. And that neighborliness is not just the love I have for my neighbor, but it's the love I, as a Canadian, should have for Americans. It's the love I, as a Canadian, should have for other countries and the people in those countries. We are global neighbors as well as community neighbors, as well as individual neighbors. And if we don't find a way to love and tolerate each other, I think we're going to continue to see some pretty significant struggles in the next several years. Um, Once again, Saint Sylvanus, thank you for being here. I hope that you will take a few moments to hit that like and subscribe button. I hope that you are doing well. Let me know if you have any thoughts on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral. I'd love to hear it. Mikey brings up a very good point. Go to a lodge and see what happens. It's not how it works. You ever fish? I have not ever. Actually, I did fish like twice in my whole life. I'm 42 years old. But dedicated angler, I'm guessing that you fish quite a bit with that name. I hope that you will fish for that like and subscribe button. All right, Josh. I love you, buddy, but you're getting a bit much. So I'm going to just put you in a little bit of a timeout for a second. Which state? I am not in a state. I can never pronounce your name. Una Sultana. I am in Canada, Windsor, Ontario. So the closest state to me is Michigan, and it's a beautiful state, by the way. I love it. Um, Happy New Year to you as well, Marcus Phoenix. Thank you for being here. Good for you if you love younger generations. I'm 42 years old. How young do you think I am? I hope that you will um, I hope that you will like and subscribe, and I wish you best of luck um, in spreading the love. Kiki, you're one of many people on the stream. You're not that special. I appreciate you being here, but I'm trying to deal with everybody on the stream. I noticed there's this very weird kind of thing on YouTube where, like, if I don't respond to somebody's comment, they get offended. You're one of many people on the stream, and everybody, I'll try my best to comment with them or talk to them. You're not as special as you think you are, put it that way. And that's true for everybody on stream, right? There's currently 15 people watching. We've had as many as over 30, which, we're not doing Candace Owens numbers, but I'm still grateful. So keep that in mind. Or go to a stream where there's like just one or two people watching, and then you can be more assured that you're going to get, a lot of people, you're going to get answers to all your questions. Um, which, by the way, support small streamers. If you do come across a stream, um, and let's say it's one or two people watching, I mean, if it's like, I don't know, if it's some stream where they're supporting Nazis or something, don't support it. But if it's, I don't know, a stream about fishing and they've got one or two people watching, take a few moments to, drop in a like, drop in a comment, drop in a hello, share it. Streaming, people don't realize it. I'm not saying, it's brain surgery or we're out there saving lives, but it is actually really hard. And it does take a lot of work and it does take a lot of skill. So support small streamers. Don't leave them hanging. Yes. Well, Wild and Fresh. Do I recommend someone who may be interested to knock on the door of a lodge? Um, Thank you, Cop. You would make an amazing subscriber. Please hit like and subscribe. Metaphorically, yes. So let's say you're interested in being a Freemason and you know that there's a Masonic building close to you. Um, if you want to literally go and knock on the door, you're welcome to. If it's not inconvenient for you, like maybe you pass it on your way to or from work, you're welcome to just stop off and knock on the door, but there may or may not be anybody present to answer the door. Or if there is somebody present, they may not have the time to speak to you. They may be getting ready for a degree. So, what I always suggest is feel free to knock on the door, but bring with you a letter that has your contact information and your name. And what you can do is, if nobody's present, or if somebody is present but they can't talk to you, you can leave the information with the building, with the person, and they'll get back to you when they have the time. Or you can metaphorically knock on the door by sending them an email or calling them. Most lodges have a website which has their contact information, the phone number, and all that good jazz. That's true, but again, if it's a regular meeting, people might be too busy, especially if the meeting starts at 7:30 and you arrive at 7:20. They may not have the time to talk to you much. It's just about picking the times, right? Uh, well, Kiki, nobody's that special. Or everybody is equally special, put it that way. So if I see your question, I'll answer it if I have the time. But if there's another question I want to answer more and focus more on that, then that's when I'll focus more on, right? It's kind of like one of the things about being a streamer and one of the challenges of live streaming, at least I've found, is trying to figure out like which question to answer, which questions to answer later, which questions to ignore, which questions to swing back to, which questions deserve or not deserve, but which questions do you give like a longer response to? Which ones do you give the shorter response to? If, let's say, somebody at the start of the stream asked a question and you answer it, and then 2 hours later somebody else comes in and asks the same question, do you answer it a second time? Will that annoy all the regular viewers who have to hear the same answer twice? Or do you answer the same question two times because you might be getting a new audience coming in that didn't hear your answer? I know I'm kind of, again, I'm not saying this is brain surgery. I'm not saying, I'm off fighting a war or saving the world. But live streaming actually does have some really interesting and unique challenges, and it is a skill which I'm still working on. I don't always get it right, but I try my best. So again, that's why I say support small streamers. If you come across a stream with maybe nobody watching, maybe one or two people watching, and again, it's about whatever, fishing, knitting, television shows, wrestling, who knows what, give them a like, give them a sub, give them a comment. They're out there chasing their dream, and good for them. Um, You can send an email as well. Yeah. So metaphorically knock on the door, I think is the key. But I have no issue with people. Again, it's just, is it within your, like, I would never suggest, if somebody has, let's say the closest Masonic building to somebody is 40 minutes away. I would never suggest somebody um like drive 40 minutes away on the off chance somebody will be there. Send an email, call, write a letter. But if it's convenient and easy to get to and it's not going to take you a lot of time or money, like gas money to get there, nothing's wrong with stopping off and knocking on the door. Just understand they may not be there. Marcus, that is a great question. Um, so the way I always describe it is lodge refers to the group of people. And I've never heard the term exclusively Masonic centers. There's, Masonic Temple, Masonic Hall, Masonic Conference Center, Masonic Event Center, Masonic Convention Space, I've heard as well. Those are all terms that refer to the place in which that group of people or that lodge meets. So thank you, Kiki, and good luck to you as well. So the way to think about it is, I'm going to use a sports analogy. I'm a member of Windsor Lodge 403, and the Masonic Center at which I meet is called the Windsor Masonic Temple. Saying that is like saying I play for the Detroit Lions, and the arena in which I play, or the stadium in which I play, is Ford Field. The lodge is a group of people. Technically, the Masonic Lodge can meet anywhere. It doesn't have to meet in one location. It can meet in somebody's garage if they get permission. The lodge is the group of people. It's like the team, in the same way a team can play anywhere. Now, where that lodge typically meets, traditionally, it was always referred to as the Masonic Temple. Windsor Masonic Temple, Detroit Masonic Temple, Norfolk Masonic Temple. It was always referred to as Masonic Temple. That dates back to, amongst other things, kind of showing reverence for King Solomon's temple, as well as kind of this idea of building, like temples were made by stonemasons, and stonemasonry is important. However, for a lot of people, the term temple had a religious connotation, and Freemasonry is not a religion. And so a lot of jurisdictions lately, California being the first one that comes to mind, are actually encouraging Masonic buildings to either, if they're new, to not call themselves Masonic temples, or if they are older, to rename themselves. Which is why typically, for example, in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, they're building, people in the city, because it was always called that, still refer to it as the Johnstown Masonic Temple, but its actual government name is the Johnstown Masonic Conference and Event Center, because it's not a religious building, right? So centers are usually in bigger towns. Smaller towns tend to still call their meeting place a Masonic temple. But yeah, so Masonic Center is where they meet. Masonic Lodge is a group of people. And Freemasons are always, Clips Drive, please hit like and subscribe. Manitoba Masonic Center. A lot of times, people use these terms interchangeably, including Masons. So a Mason will say, like, I have lodge on Friday. Technically, he's not going to the lodge, he's going to his Masonic building, which could be called Masonic Center, Masonic Hall, Masonic Temple. He actually going to his Masonic meeting place, and he's meeting with his lodge. But people, like, I will say, like today, I'll say I'm going to the lodge. I'm not. I'm going to the temple. I can't go to the lodge. The lodge is the group of people. And my lodge meets on Thursday nights and Friday nights as well. If that made any sense. So think about the Masonic Center as the meeting place and the lodge as the group of people. You join the lodge, but you meet wherever it is they meet. So you join the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions play at Ford Field, right? If you're a Detroit Lions, you don't belong to the stadium. You don't belong to Ford Field. You belong to the team. You belong to the group of people. Um, Mikey, UCC, Masonic Hall, right? And that's the other thing. You can have multiple lodges or multiple groups meeting in the same Masonic space or Masonic center. Mine has 7 that meet there. And so what you see with that is, um, a lot of people will get it mixed up and they'll think it's one lodge per building. And in the same way, in many towns, you can have a lot of different sports teams, a lot of different hockey teams play in the same center, like community rink. Thank you, the commission, and I love the fact that you're here. I very much appreciate it. Please take a moment to hit the like and subscribe button. I timed you out because you were talking about stuff I try not to share on the stream. I might time you out again. My stream, my rules. There should be a Latin term for that. Mia, I don't know what the Latin term for stream would be. I mean, they wouldn't have a term for like a live stream. They have a term for like a stream of water, obviously, but that would be different. I guess that'd be the closest example. Hold on just one second. Let me just see. All right. So, mias amnis precepta mia. There you go. Oops. I can actually do this. Yeah, well, I mean, Masonic centers are, yes, I got a big nose. Don't talk to other people on the stream, Daryl. Talk to me. Masonic centers, I mean, again, but it's a colloquial term. There's no official term for like what is a Masonic center, right? What I would say is generally speaking, the bigger the building is, the more likely it's going to be called a Masonic center. So if it's, I don't know, if, but it doesn't have to be. I mean, Masonic Hall, again, a lot of places, especially if they're older, are still called Masonic temples. Like Detroit is the biggest Masonic building in the world, and it's still called a Masonic temple, Detroit Masonic Temple. So, it's one of those things where it really isn't, it's not an official term. Now, some lodges or some jurisdictions, excuse me, may actually have within them um, like specific rules. So, right, it may be one of those situations where like they may have bylaws and they may say, if a building is of a certain size, has a certain number of members, it's a Masonic center. But that just depends on the what's the word I'm looking for? That just depends on the jurisdiction. But in my experience, I've never heard of an official designation as to what constitutes a Masonic center versus a Masonic hall versus a Masonic temple versus a Masonic conference center. Right? It's not, there's no official rules on that stuff. Yes, there is no Masonic God. Well, you know what isn't a gay subject from Agio? You hitting the like and subscribe button. So please hit the like and subscribe button. This is Cars, EB Cars. Please hit like and subscribe. I'd very much appreciate it. Yeah, Skinwalker is a challenging fella. I may have to ban him. I try not to. I've never banned anybody yet. And it's I've been a Freemason for 20 years. I've been doing this stream for almost a year now, and I haven't banned anybody yet. even though some people are definitely challenging fellows. But I try not to. Just because when I created this stream, when I created Screen Comes Promotions, it was to promote the ways Freemasonry was and is relevant to the communities in which it's located. If I am, all right, Anur, I appreciate you being here, but say that one more time, you might find yourself on timeout because you can't repeat yourself over and over again. Um, so for this, let's say handy Randy fellow who keeps saying cult, um, there's somebody on the other end of a computer who can hear me, who can see me. Who knows at what point it is that I might say something that might potentially get through to him and cause him to reconsider his views. But unfortunately, there are a lot of people who share the same rules as um, share the same thoughts and share the same ideas as him. Either they share the same thought that it's fun to be insulting and mean on a stream, or it's fun to, or they just think nonsense about Freemasonry. If I ban them, I'm limiting their ability to hear the truth about Freemasonry, right? I'm limiting their ability to understand what Freemasonry actually is. I don't care if they want to join or not, but I care that people have the correct understanding about what Freemasonry is. I once heard this really great quote. It was about a rabbi. That should get the conspiracy theories going crazy when they're talking or thinking about Jewish conspiracies. But it was about this rabbi who, he went to, he had a member of his congregation, or I guess synagogue would be the correct term. One of the members of his synagogue, he had a child that passed away, and he stopped coming to synagogue because he lost his faith. And so the rabbi went, knocked on the person's door. The person answered, said, "Go away, I don't want to talk to you," slammed the door. The next day, the rabbi went back, knocked on the door. The person opened it, said, "I don't want to talk to you," slammed the door in the face. The third time, went, knocked on the door. The person opened the door, spit on the rabbi, and slammed the door. And the rabbi said, "Must be raining," and walked away and came back the next day. The point is, he cared about that person and he cared about him so much, he was willing to accept abuse in order to try to do what he believed in. I'm not saying I want anybody to spit on me unless I pay you for that. But what I'm saying is, because I care about Freemasonry and I love talking about it, I have to accept the fact that there's going to be some people on this stream who are choosing to be metaphorically spit on me. And all I can do is say, "Must be raining," and try my best to keep a positive attitude and hope that sooner or later I'll be able to get through to them, at least that Freemasonry is, or at least that I'm a good person, whatever they may choose to think about Freemasonry. Well, I've got more Tang thinking I'm the enemy, so be it. This is PR for my views on Freemasonry, Daryl Brown. This is not PR for Freemasonry as a whole. These are my views on Freemasonry and why I love it. Cam, you didn't see. I wish you best of new 20. Thank you, Apple Tree. Apple Tree, that is incredibly kind of you, and I very much appreciate it. Thank you for your support of this channel. My channel has absolutely been growing, and a big part of that is thanks to Apple Tree, Mikey, Mr. Keeps, Courtney, all the people who make this possible. Yes, I am nice. But people don't have to be nice to me, Apple Tree. They don't have to be. I'm on stream, and as part of that, I have to accept that people might not be so nice to me. That's okay. Um, um, I don't know everything, Daryl Brown. I don't pretend to know everything. You can spend every day learning about Freemasonry from the age of 21 to 91 and not know everything. What I know are my experiences, my observations, and my researches. And you can take what I say as true or not true, but I hope you would at least take what I say as being legitimately representative of my experiences. Now, if you think I'm wrong, so be it. But what I would say is I think that my 20 years as a Mason, my travels around the world, and the hours I put into Freemasonry should at least give me the benefit of the doubt. You are gay. If I was gay, fair enough, apple tree, but I don't want you getting upset by it. If I was gay, would it make a difference? Being a Freemason, you don't discriminate based on one's sexual orientation. What were my first steps in joining Freemasonry? I didn't take any literal steps because I have no legs. But Mikey UCC is right. You are taking the first steps by learning about it. I mean, the first steps, I guess it depends how you would define the first steps. You could argue my first steps in Freemasonry were when I was a kid going to Masonic Christmas parties with my dad and hanging out. You know, my dad would hang out with his Masonic buddies and they'd bring all their kids and all the kids would go and play around the lodge. Or I remember going to some Christmas party and there was a few friends and created like this clubhouse thing in the back or these like secret codes we had. I guess that would be in some ways my first steps in Freemasonry. But literally my first steps was when I lived in Windsor and realizing I was going to stay in Windsor for a while, choosing to contact the Masonic Lodge. I sent a letter to them and asking them or expressing an interest in joining, which is the first steps you take. People are fickle. You're not wrong. Is that BL3 Camp AF? What's wrong with being campy? As someone who loves scary movies, I love campy things. I love camp. Um, well, yeah, my dad was a Freemason, so I remember. I mean, it wasn't like Freemasonry was some huge part of my life growing up. I don't want to pretend that. It was in the background, but a lot of things were way more important to me as a kid than Freemasonry. But I knew my dad was a Freemason. I remember the Christmas parties. I remember me and some kids. I don't remember their names, but we get together at Christmas, and they were like my friend. They were like my Christmas friends because there'd be Christmas parties, and I'd see them maybe once or twice a year, or Grey Cup parties. Grey Cup, for the record, is the Canadian version of the Super Bowl. I remember going to Grey Cup parties, and there were a lot of Masons there, and we'd all hang out, watch football, eat chips. So it certainly was kind of, I was aware of it as a kid. It wasn't like the most important part of my life, but it was something I was aware of and always kind of seemed to me interesting. And then I always kind of assumed I would join to maintain the family tradition. Now, keep in mind, I do always try to give um, the caveat that you don't need to have a family connection to be a Freemason. I've known many Masons who joined for the first time and they love Freemasonry and they have no family. Nobody in their family was a Freemason, or at least nobody that they know of was a Freemason, but they still hang out and join and love it. And you don't need to have a family connection to be a Freemason. That's one of those ideas some people have. You can be the first one in your family and be a Freemason. And some people, I think, prefer that. So, you know, because it's kind of like if let's say your dad was a big time, I say big time, was, a master of a lodge, was an important Freemason, not even important, but just was well known. Like, you don't want to join the lodge and it's like, oh, who's that? That's Harry's son. That's Tom's son. That's Art's son, right? You want to join as your own kind of person. That's why even for me, I mean, I think my dad is still on stream. I love my dad. Obviously he's a wonderful dad. I am kind of happy that I chose to join a Masonic lodge, that wasn't his, that was actually in a different city. Because then I'm kind of joining as Cameron, not as Harry's son. I think that that's just, but other people, they really love joining the same lodge as their dad and their grandfather. And some love starting their own tradition. Everybody kind of decides for themselves. Um, Still not a fan of that name, Auslander Rouse now. I know nothing about the Church of Satan. I've never met a satanic Freemason. Um, Squaring the circle is like matter from mind, substance with conscience. Squaring the circle, actually, that's a geometric principle, right? I think it was Archimedes who first came up with that idea. Which, don't get me wrong, geometry is an incredibly important part of Freemasonry. But again, squaring the circle is a geometric principle. It's not exclusive to Freemasonry by any means. Mikey, first in his family to join, right? But free geometry, Daryl, is an incredibly important part of Freemasonry. Absolutely. I would say it's the basis of Freemasonry, and most Freemasons would agree with that. Again, with Freemasonry, though, it's common experiences, personal interpretations. Some would actually say it's not geometry, it's architecture, which I would say architecture is descended from geometry, but you can get into that later. Imminent collapse. Don't collapse before hitting the like and subscribe button. What level am I? Don't think about it in terms of levels. As I always say, think about it in terms of degrees and offices. So I am a third degree Master Mason, which is the most important degree and the highest degree within Freemasonry. I am also a worshipful master of Border Cities Lodge number 554. That is my office. So they did not, Ali Khan. What you're saying is a political statement. Um, well, Daryl, you don't have to stick around if you find this stream tiresome. The Zionists took over Freemasonry. Zionism is a political kind of ideology. Freemasonry is not political. We probably have a lot of Masons who maybe are supporters of the state of Israel or Zionists. We probably have a lot of Freemasons who are not. Every Freemason would decide that for himself. Yes, the cornerstone is hidden. We don't know where it is. Part of me was thinking that when they're doing these Right House renovations, destructions, call it what you will, for the ballroom, maybe they would actually finally find the cornerstone. But apparently, the most likely location of the cornerstone is in the opposite wing to where the ballroom is going to be located. So who knows? Um, uh, well, if you find me tiresome, then you don't have to stick around either. But I'm going to keep on being me and running the stream as I so choose, right? You kind of have to do that. Again, I'm not here like defending streamers, but the other biggest challenge that you have within Freemasonry, well, I guess put it this way, I'm going to keep on answering questions the way I choose to, even if you didn't ask them. I'm still going to answer the questions as I choose to. Because what you have to do is you have to run the stream the way you want to. Otherwise, you'll drive yourself crazy because it's very hard, right? And everybody has different ways to do so. There's also some great Masonic streams that, I'm trying to think of some good examples. Masonic Roundtable, they do some excellent streams, and I really enjoy their stuff. Juan Sepulveda out of Florida, he does some really good streams, but I don't know if he does live streams like this or if he just has exclusively pre-recorded content. My friend was a Freemason. He was amazingly clever. I mean, Freemasons are amazingly handsome. I don't know if we're all amazingly clever. Oh, we got Smokey the Clown, I think, in the stream because we got the hearts. Thank you, Marcus. I try my best. Again, I don't always succeed in my goals of promoting the ways Freemasonry was and is relevant to the communities in which it's located, but I do try my best. Um, I don't think you're a bad guy or a good guy. I don't necessarily know you, Daryl. Um, what's the advice from a Freemasonry Lodge? It's very hard for me to answer that question, Linking Alice. That's a great one. But the problem is I'd have to know more about the individual lodges, right? In terms of like what advice I would give. I would say I'm not going to give advice to Masonic lodges because I would need to know more of what's happening with them. other than in general the success of your Masonic knowledge, or sorry, the success of your Masonic lodge is going to be based on um, how relevant you are to the community in which you're located. So if you want to grow your Masonic lodge, grow as in get more members or get more attendance from the members you already have, you need to focus on being more relevant in your community by supporting local businesses, taking part in fairs, community events, charitable giving, all that stuff. Otherwise, I mean, if you don't care about that stuff and you choose to remain kind of an esoteric, closed off group, that's fine, but you're likely going to see declining numbers, at least declining membership, and probably declining attendance as well. At least that's my experience. I will give advice to Masons, which is if you want to grow within your Masonic journey in 2026, you need to sign up for as many different newsletters from Masonic organizations as you can. Get them delivered right to your mail slot, your email, completely free. I have a list of them on my Medium page. You need to travel as much as you can. You need to visit as much as you can, whether it be the lodge down the street or the lodge on another continent around the world. And you need to attend your Masonic lodge as much as possible. Those are the things you need to do. What you should do is hit the like and subscribe button. Oh, yes, go home if you're sick as a dog. Because honestly, I can understand needing the money and needing to work, but the danger is if you're so sick that you burn yourself out even more, you may have to end up missing more days of work, you know? So try to be careful. Welcome the first Avenger. Good for you. I am not a member of the Illuminati. I am a Freemason. I'm also celebrating New Year's. So here you go. Happy New Year. Um, why are you giving out this information? I can talk about whatever I so choose. There's certain things within Freemasonry I choose not to talk about and keep private, but that's my own personal choice, Nicholas. Um, Happy New Year, Droll de Camp. I am doing well. It's great to see you. And thank you for being here. Thank you, Balls, for the super chat. That's incredibly kind of you. Who farted? Maybe I farted. Maybe I didn't. Who knows? Well, thank you, Balls. I appreciate it. You don't owe me anything, but I'm grateful for everybody who supports this channel. I made it to over actually, I made it to over 4,000 watch hours within the last 12 months, which is absolutely incredible. And it's a real honor because what that means is I've been able to fully monetize this stream and it helps me turn my passion for Freemasonry into a profession. So I'm grateful for that. Happy New Year, Marcus. Um, I appreciate you being here as well. Pop a wheelie. Here we go. Let's see if I can do this. Ready? There you go. I don't know if you can see that, but I'm popping a wheelie. I hope you're all happy. Thank you, Smokey Decline. You don't have to do that either, but I appreciate that very much. Now get yourself to sleep, drink lots of water, get yourself some rest. Not a lot, but more and more every month. So what matters is it's growing. Gamer guy, please hit like and subscribe. Help me earn more. Even, just because subscribing and liking is free, that doesn't mean that it doesn't help majorly. Thank you, Balls. Once again, I appreciate that. Yes, get yourself to sleep. I did want to mention, I haven't had a chance to yet, some really cool Masonic events that are coming up in 2026. If you're a Freemason, I hope you would consider traveling to them if you can. I know not everybody can. It's expensive, so I'm not telling you you have to. I'm just saying if you get the chance, keep these in mind. First, ANCOM 2026. That is the annual communication for Freemasonry in 2026. That is April 23rd to April 25th at the Tagaytay City Sports Complex. That's for the Grand Lodge of the Philippines. It is in Tagaytay, Philippines, which is south of Manila. Um, there is a website, glpancom.ph, where you can look at registration, venue, FAQs, how to register, all that good jazz. That's going to be incredibly exciting. There's a conference of Grand Masters, if I recall correctly, in Rosemont, Illinois, which is basically Chicago. There's also a conference in Brazil, if I recall correctly. That's coming up. That's going to be really exciting as well. Which city or province in Canada has more lodges? Probably Ontario would be my guess. It'd be whatever province has the most people. Um, awesome, Joshua Johnson. My grandfather and both my grandfathers and my father were Freemasons. Joshua Johnson, please hit like and subscribe. Peanut Butter, please hit like and subscribe as well. How do you become a Freemason? The first thing you have to do is to be one, ask one. So what you need to do is you need to find a Masonic lodge within your area and go speak to them. Um, I think right now, Dad, it's 46, 47. Mississippi is one that doesn't, but they have changed that. In 2025, they put forward a memorandum, whereas the principles of Freemasonry are founded on the ideals of brotherly love, relief, and truth, and are dedicated to the betterment of mankind through selfless service, personal integrity, and charitable contributions to the community. Whereas Stronger Prince Hall Lodge of Mississippi has demonstrated unwavering commitment to these principles, contributing significantly to the spiritual, moral, and charitable development of its members and the local community, whereas the Lodge has consistently upheld the tenets of Freemasonry and adhered to the time-honored traditions of the Prince Hall Grand Lodge, promoting unity, peace, and goodwill among its members and all Masons in the state of Mississippi, whereas the Grand Lodge of Mississippi has been in the promotion of Masonic values and fellowship in the state, and has always worked towards building a more inclusive and harmonious fraternity, irreplaceable of background or history, whereas recognition of Stronger Prince Hall Lodge would promote, or sorry, Stringer Prince Hall Lodge would promote the unity of all Masonic bodies within the state of Mississippi, advancing the cause of brotherhood and fraternal cooperation, and would demonstrate a commitment to healing past divisions and promoting mutual respect, whereas both the Most Worshipful Grand Lodge of Mississippi, FNAM, and the Most Worshipful Stringer Grand Lodge, FNAM, Prince Hall, share jurisdiction over the same geographic boundaries, but have no desire to infringe upon one another's sovereignty, authority, or internal affairs. Happy New Year, Rondo. Thank you for that. Yes, the first is Russia. Whereas Stringer Prince Hall, Mississippi is in good standing with the Council of Prince Hall Grand Masters and is the exclusive recognized Prince Hall Grand Lodge in the state of Mississippi and has fulfilled its obligations and requirements of a recognized lodge. Therefore, be it resolved that the Grand Lodge of Mississippi officially recognize Stringer Prince Hall of Mississippi as a legitimate and worthy Masonic lodge in the state of Mississippi, entering the hand of fellowship and unity to its membership. Be it further resolved that this recognition be a testament to the shared values and common purpose of all Masons, regardless of affiliation, and a step toward fostering greater unity and mutual respect within the Masonic fraternity. So there you go. Recognition through Grand Lodge of Mississippi. We'll see if it happens. What is the reaction of Native Americans? I mean, I can't speak to the reaction of Native Americans directly. I can say Freemasonry has actually always been relatively open to First Nations and Native Americans, for example, and vice versa, actually. I would say Freemasonry actually was, for many years, one of the few places in society that Native Americans were kind of welcomed in civic society. You have the the Oklahoma Indian Masonic degree team. Here in Essex, you had Chief Tecumseh was a Freemason. Um, so yeah, I think I've actually talked about the Oklahoma Indian degree team on a few streams. It's a really cool and really part of um, our history. I don't know if you're calling me dumb and gay or Freemasonry dumb and gay, Griff Finder. What I'd say is Freemasonry is wonderful and awesome. So there you go. Yes, Mikey brings up a good point. I'm sure there are a lot of Native Americans who dislike Freemasonry for whatever reason, just like there are a lot of Catholics who dislike Freemasonry. But I'm sure I know of many who are part of Freemasonry, who love it and who support the channel. Sorry, support the channel, support Freemasonry, either through family connections or members themselves. Do you mean Canadian history is capitalist? I don't know what you mean by that. I mean, I would not say the history of Freemasonry is capitalism. I would say it's civic. I guess in some ways, because Freemasonry evolved from stone Masonic guilds. Stone Masonry is itself a profession. So, I mean, sure. I guess you could argue that in some ways if you wanted, that it has a capitalist quality. The idea of being a Freemason, as in, someone who's free to travel and work on different job sites. I look Brazilian. I look handsome, Might Guy 133. Please hit like and subscribe. And consider doing a super chat. That's true. Commerce and capitalism are two different things. I mean, I'm being hesitant because capitalism is an economic system or an economic philosophy. Freemasonry is not an economic philosophy, but I can understand when you look at stone mason guilds and kind of their purpose, why you could argue there's a capitalist element to Freemasonry in some senses, as well as a socialist element in that it was a trade union, and trade unions are typically viewed as more left wing. It's hard to say. Like, one of the interesting things, if you go back and you read the Regius manuscript, which is the earliest English document talking about Freemasonry, or stonemasonry, I should say, a big section on it is how it is that a Freemason should act while traveling in foreign lands and while in the company of a king or a lord. And that was because they had to travel to foreign lands and interact with kings and with lords to work for income. It would be a king or a lord of an area, or like the mayor, or pick your term, who would hire them to build a castle, a house, to build an extension on their property, to build walls around their fields, whatever it might be. So they had to know how to act in an appropriate, courteous manner to maintain their work. You could argue that's kind of a capitalist idea, but they also talk about mutual support to other people within their group, to other people within their field. And so in that case, you could argue it's more, um, you know, socialist side. I mean, Freemasonry does not fit well into any particular economic philosophy, and that's something you just need to keep in mind. Apple tree, you might be right, but I hope it's not. And I'm doing what I can to try to change that. Well, I would say maybe the president of the United States has made some comments to that regard, but I don't think it's true of most Americans. Yes, 777. I have a big nose. Please hit like and subscribe. I'm one subscriber away, or sorry, I'm three subscribers away from 3,200 subscribers. So help a brother out. We do not conquer fear. You should conquer that like and subscribe button, though, is what you should do. Um, That's true as well, Rondo. But I think these all connect. I've always been one, and sometimes people would say this is a strength of mine. Some people would say this is a weakness. I've always tried my best to recognize the connections between different systems, whether it be capitalism, communism, socialism, um, yeah, and the ethics of those systems or lack of ethics in those systems, and civic engagement and civic groups, not exclusive to Freemasonry. And I do think, it's the same way that, one time in especially the 17 and 1800s, Freemasonry was considered very left wing because it really promoted ideas of democracy and self governance. So Jose Rizal, Garibaldi in Italy, in some ways, George Washington, were all considered kind of left wing in that they were trying to establish democracy over tyranny. But then in the 19th century and 20th century, Freemasonry developed a reputation of being more right wing because it was so focused on tradition and civic engagement. And so an institutional kind of, not strength, but institutional development. So the point is, there is no simple answer to these questions, which ultimately is why we always need to remind people Freemasonry is not a political system, nor a religious system, nor an economic system. It is a civic group. Um, I don't know what any of that means. You could be a Freemason and a cement finisher. I don't see why you couldn't. I don't know what cement finishing is, but Freemasonry is not about the profession you have. It's a civic group for community members. Hello, Lee Partridge. Please hit like and subscribe. Yes, Linking Atlas. Please hit like and subscribe. Um, Yeah, I mean, I think they do as well, Rondo. I think you're right. I think the lessons inform just moral, just a way to live better in the world. Um, because sometimes the best approach to take is a more capitalist approach. Sometimes the best approach to take is an approach that's closer to communism, right? You're always there is no one size fits all, right? Like it's crazy to me the thought that you have a fire department that's based on a capitalist system, right? The idea that like you pay the fire department to put your house out. No, if there's a fire, you should expect the fire department to come and put it out free of charge whether you have $1 million or $10, right? Because a fire not put out affects everybody. But when it comes to, let's say, cars and creating or, factory cars or automobile manufacturing, I think history has shown pretty well that capitalism is a far better system. So there's no one size fits all, is my point. And Natalie, I'm trying to make my job a Freemason. Freemasonry is not a profession. Technically, my job would be content creator and streamer. I'm trying to turn my passion for Freemasonry into a profession by streaming about it regularly. So help a brother out, hit the like and subscribe button, and consider a super chat. Even 99 cents helps out majorly. Um, oh, yeah. I mean, that's unfortunate. That's dangerous. I hope that, I mean, I understand sometimes it's just the infrastructure of where you live, the roadways, the whatever it is, make it so it's hard for emergency services to reach you. But I hope that you will kind of, I don't know, reconsider or not reconsider, that's not the right word. I hope that eventually the infrastructure, like your country reconsiders that area, provides more resources, provides more funding, and emergency services have an easier time getting to you. Um, no, you can. I mean, that's not how it works, Apple Tree. I mean, you truly believe in your God as you understand it. Could be the Christian faith, the Muslim faith, the Jewish faith, but you have to believe in a supreme being. And if you believe in a supreme being, you can be a Freemason. It can be of a particular religious faith, or it can be like me, maybe more spiritual, if you want to put it that way. I got a big nose, Dr. Connor. Hit the like and subscribe button. Help a brother out. The more people we get liking and subscribing, the better it is for the channel. And I hope that you're doing well. Like I said, this stream has been growing like crazy, and it's going to be a great 2026. There's so many events happening. Think about Ancom in the Philippines. I know it's hard to travel. Sometimes it's financially hard. Sometimes you have to work and you don't have the time. Sometimes medically it's hard. Like just maybe you have a hard time sitting for a long, whatever it is. There's lots of different reasons why it's hard to travel around the world if you, let's say, are in North America. But if you can make it, I would suggest you go to Ancom 2026 in Tagaytay Sports Complex, Tagaytay, the Philippines. Um, no, no offense taken, Jason. I was born this way, so I never lost my legs. I just never had them. But yeah, I don't mind. It works out pretty well. I get my cool wheelchair as a result, so it's all good. Yes, Masons don't revile any religion. We are taught not to revile. And that, again, I've said this before. In my opinion, one of the greatest, maybe the greatest statement ever ever made on religious tolerance, and I would say universal tolerance, is entitled "Of Concerning God and Religion" or "Of God and Religion" in the Anderson Constitutions, which is a Masonic document from 1723. You could be homeless and join Freemasonry. I would say it'd probably be a little bit harder because, I mean, if you are homeless, having, so much of your time is going to be focused on like finding shelter. It'd be hard to do things like keep track of meetings and pay for lodge dues, even as small as $40 a year American. If you're homeless, I would hope that that money would be going to trying to find shelter or whatever else it is you could do. Maybe the lodge could help you out, but there's no requirement that you have a home to be a Mason. I've known Masons in the past who, they joined and then through different challenges, actually ended up homeless. In some cases, the lodge was able to help them out, and the lodge was able to give them money to stay in their home, to pay their rent, to pay their mortgage. I've known three brothers where that was the case. I've also known brothers, though, where they developed problems. In some cases, with the drugs, with alcohol. The lodge tried to help them, but there's only so much anybody can do, and if you sometimes people break, unfortunately, and I've known some people it just kind of fell apart. But having said all that, I've also known, like I said, three Masons who fell into hard times, but were able to go to the lodge, get some support, and it helped make it through for them. So yeah. But joining as a homeless person, I would say maybe the focus should be on, if possible, trying to get your shelter situation sorted out before you join. Just because, for example, the stress of being homeless, and on top of that, remembering your Masonic meetings, for example. Um, you're not a Christian. If you were, you would declare Christ as Lord. WY Wild Nature. I mean, I'm not a Christian, so I don't claim to. I know many Christian Freemasons, so I can say the words Christ is Lord, but I'm not a Christian myself. So that's just my own personal religious belief, though. Freemasonry is not a religion, right? We have many Masons who would happily declare that Christ is Lord, or at least Christ is their Lord. Um, I mean, I don't know, Rondo. That has been a major, major challenge, not just for Freemasonry. I mean, I've seen friends of mine. There's a friend of mine right now. I've known him for about 20 years, and I don't know what the term is. I mean, break. He basically developed some substance use issues. Some friends actually tried to step in and help him out, but it didn't work. And I haven't talked to him in about a couple months. I still worry about him and hope he's okay, but I don't know. I don't know what to do, right? And he's not a Mason. It's somebody I know from somewhere else. But I've known Masons who, again, it's in some cases they developed substance use issues, and in some cases they emotional problems. I think we all know those people in our lives. I've known people who've had not Masonic brothers, but literal brothers who've they end up being homeless on the street. They try to help them, but it just doesn't work. I don't know what the solutions are. I wish I did. I will say that all things being equal, I think people are far less likely to, for lack of a better term, break, and are far more likely to get through the rough times in their life, to recover from the challenges that they face through civic engagement, whether that be the Freemasons, the Elks, the Moose. And I have seen people, many people who go through struggles and find comfort and support within Freemasonry. Um, Sometimes they get the financial support they need. Sometimes they get to stay in their homes, which gives them some breathing room that helps them find a new job, that helps them regain their finances, that helps them feel less stressed. I've seen Masons who, lose somebody they love and have a whole group of Masons come around to talk to them and show them support and show them, love and kindness, and it gets them through these rough times. And I have seen that frequently, and I 100% believe that a world with strong Freemasonry is a world where less people, quote unquote, break, define as you will, and are able to make it through the rough patches of their life, because I've seen it. And that's why I'm always suggesting that within Freemasonry, brothers should know the number to call if someone is considering self-harm, the number to call for food banks if a brother needs to get a meal, places where brothers can go to sleep if they are experiencing homelessness and need a couch to crash on, even a list of Masons who have spare bedrooms. They should have psychological first aid training. So if someone is going through a crisis event, they know how to deal with it. Having said that, Freemasonry is imperfect, because it's human. And I've known Masons who have taken their own lives. Not well, but I have known some who did that. And I've known some who, despite the efforts of the lodge, just ended up in really bad places. You do your best. You get your psychological first aid training. You offer support, you offer help, but you also recognize that they're human beings with their own agency and their own decisions and the right to make those decisions, even if it ends up in a bad situation. I've said it before on this stream, Freemasonry is not the perfect solution to any problem. It's a possible solution, but it's one of many, and it's an imperfect one. So, Rondo, I hope that answered your question. And yeah, I think, like I said, it's not about throwing your hands up, but it's about, yeah, in some ways it is, I guess. But again, if there's no Freemasonry, then maybe, 70% of a population at some point or another breaks. If there is Freemasonry, maybe we can drop that number down to 30% or 20%. And I have seen it not always be successful, but I have seen many times it been successful in pulling people back from these problems and these issues, whether it be substance use, emotional trauma, or whatever else it might be. So yeah, I guess that's my answer to that. And again, if you're a Freemason out there, take a bit of time. It's a few hours. I don't want to pretend like that's nothing, but it's a few hours. You can get your psychological first aid training. You can get your number to call for someone who's thinking of harming themselves. And you can learn how to support brethren going through a crisis. Thank you, Apple Tree. That's very kind. Doorknobs. I would say I'm average. I think myself and doorknobs, please hit like and subscribe. I would consider myself decent at Microsoft Excel and other Microsoft applications and computers in general, but not great by any means. HOA Karen, please hit like and subscribe. I'm very good for you, Karen, for living in your gated community, I guess. Um, I live in a condo, so you have to buzz to get in. That's kind of like a gated community. Um, Wild nature. I'm not sure what you're saying there, but it sounds like a lot. I understand the Gnostic hatred and resentment. Life is cyclical and can be painful. Life is cyclical and life can be painful, but life can also be great. It's complicated, right? Human beings are complicated, and so is life. All right, guys, thank you for being here. I hope you'll take a moment to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I'm going to be leaving the stream. I actually have a meeting tonight, January 1st, and already it's the first meeting of the lodge. So it's going to be a great 2026. I'll talk to everybody soon. Mr. Badass, hit the like and subscribe button. All right, guys, talk to you soon.